Hey, what's going on, everybody? So, today, checking out Bitcoin, just revisiting what we were discussing yesterday. So, basically, yesterday I said, look, this is what I would like to see happen. We were consolidating under this resistance line resistance, resistance, resistance. We came down, we had a big pullback. We back tested this area right here. So we broke out of this range. We met new resistance. We pulled back. We back tested right there perfectly this resistance, making it the new support. Then what happened? We had an automatic rally. And one of the things I said was I would like to see the price go up a little higher and then A, B, C, and back test this resistance. Back test it, then continue on. Clearly, that didn't happen. We didn't get the back test. The reason why is because we didn't get that extra pump. And the reason why that is because we came from the bottom to the top and then we broke it. So for example, if the price came to the middle, it pulled back, it consolidated, then it would have enough energy to break out and go even higher. But since it went from the bottom and it went straight to the top, broke the top, came back down. That's okay. That's fine. So what's happening now is we are getting a big pullback, and it still lines up with the fractal that we shared earlier, and I could show you that soon. So I just want to bring your attention to, let's go to the 30-minute chart right here. So you could see down here, here was our bottom. Price coming up to the resistance, right? And then it comes down, boom, makes this bottom, right? This local bottom. What happened? We broke out of this resistance line right here, which is right there, right? We broke out and we went all the way and made basically a double top right there. So we couldn't get through that. We couldn't get through this this range in here, and that's fine. So what does that mean? Well, like I said before, usually when a price breaks out, in this case it was a small range, right? We sort of bottomed out here, made a little tiny range. We broke above the range. We came all the way up to the resistance, and now we're coming back down. And look what's happening. We're actually back testing the range, which is a good sign. So let's see if this back test zone holds. If it does, great, right? So, you come down here, you make a bottom, you break out, you come back, you back test the breakout level to make it the new support, right? So it was resistance in here. We broke out, we pull back. Let's see if we can make it support. Not saying it is, but let's see what happens. If you look at the fractal, which is right here, basically, I was suggesting that we could come down, right? And we did in the fractal. So this fractal, by the way, is not updated. This was yesterday. So fast forward today, we have this big dump, right? Same thing here. We have the big dump. So if you look closely, this back tested this little range. Now the price pulled back, so now we're back testing again. So let's see if this fractal continues to be validated. If so, we're going to want to see a big pump like this right here. So down here is the fractal, and up here is the current price. The current price pulled back, which is today. So now we want to see the back test, which we got. We want to see it hold, right? And then what happens next? We have a pump. So what we want to see is a pump. We want to get the heck out of there. So we are at a do or die moment. If we don't get that pump and we break below, then we are going back to the live chart. We can probably get a little bounce, and then we break below this range, come down, retest it as resistance, and then make it back down here, which is what? The support. This is all support in here. So that would be potentially a WXY, which is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, which would be basically a three-wave move. 1, 2, 3. Come down to support and then continue higher. Let's see if that's the case, right? If we break below, say 35,260 area. If we break below that, then look for a retest of that 34K area. So yeah, we'll see if that's the case. You know, everything is still on the table as regards to the higher time frames, in which case going to the higher time frames, watch this. So if we go to the 2-day chart, we take everything off the screen. So everything I was talking about was basically right in here, right? So zooming out, right, that would look like this, right? If we break below, like I said before, then we're going to come down and we're going to back test this 31K area, which makes sense, right? When you zoom out, things look more clear. So we had a 1, 2, 1, 2. We came all the way up. We broke resistance. So potentially we can come down and back test it. Back test this resistance and make it the new support. And then we continue marching to the upside. So we're not there yet. We still have to look at the lower time frames to see if we do break that. So going back to the 1 hour. So basically just putting the fractals side by side, right? Okay. So we have this pump right in here, and then this dump, right? Same thing here. We have this pump in here, and then the dump. Then we have this 1, 2, right? 1, 2, or A, B, C, right? A, B, C. Same thing here. A, B, C, right? And then we pull back. And then we pull back. And then what happened? We had a sharp pump to the upside. Same thing here. We had a sharp pump to the upside. And then what happened? We had this big dump, this sort of flash crash that came out of nowhere. Well, I wouldn't say it's a flash crash because it's been methodically going down, but a pretty quick dump to the downside, back testing this area here. Same thing here. We have this big dump, and it's back testing this area here. So what comes next? A big massive pump to get us out of here. So let's see if that's the case. So this is what I'm saying. It's at a do or die moment for the fractal. So what would that look like? Well, we had our 1, 2, now looking for 3. We want to see us get the heck out of here, right? So we want to see a big pump. So let's see if we get that. If not, then we can rule potentially this fractal out. So it doesn't, if it doesn't get that pump, it's not the end of the world. It's okay, right? We're obviously, at that case, we're probably going to come down to back test 30 to 31K on the higher time frame, which I've talked about a lot. So real quick, zooming out. We would just come down right here, right in this zone in here, and we'll back test it, which is fine, which is a good thing, right? So you break out, you come down, you back test, and you continue higher. So option number 1, which is what I would prefer, which is what? Following this fractal. So let's see if we can still continue to follow this fractal. If not, probably a little pullback and then come down, right? So that would be like, it would be a weird wave. It would be a weird wave to the downside. Not really proportional with this, but it's okay, right? We still want to back test this area before accelerating to the upside. If not, then, if we break below this range right here, then you want to see it come down, retest it as resistance, then come down. But we're not even close to that. So I'm not going to talk about that until the day comes. But for right now, let's focus to see if we get this bounce. And right now we are starting to get a little bounce. So it's a good thing. So, I mean, if you look here, right, this to me looks like an impulse, right? It looks like a pretty nice impulse with sort of this corrective wave down. We don't want it to impulse down. So it's kind of a mixture, right? So the best case scenario, this is a 1, 2. And now we're about to get 3, 4, 5, right? So maybe it turns into like a diag, right? So like a diagonal, in which case, you have this sort of rising wedge in here, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3-way pullback, and then continue higher. So there's a lot of different things that could happen, but basically the overall thing is, we want to see this level hold right here. So we back tested it. We're getting a reaction off of it. I mean, you could see here, look at this wick, right? The wick is pretty long, and now we have another green candle that's wicking off the support. So that's what you want to see. Just like how you wick off resistance, you want to wick off support. So here's our breakout area, and now we're in a back test area. So let's see if we get that pump. To me, I mean, looking at XRP looks more bullish to me. And you say, well, how's that so? It looks more down. Well, because look, you have this big base down in here, right? And then you have a flag, right? You have this big impulse to the upside, your flagpole that's planted in the foundation, right? And then you have this bull flag that's sort of panning out, right? So you have this impulse to the upside and then this corrective move to the downside. So you have 1, 2, right? 3, 4, 5, potentially. Or better yet, this could be a 1, 2. All of this is 3, 4. We're in the fourth wave now, and we're going to get wave 5. So we're probably in a wave 4 correction. I mean, you could see how corrective it is, which is, it's not impulsing to the downside, it's correcting to the downside. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have a 5-wave corrective move to the downside. So let's see what happens. Let's see if we start to get a pump just like Bitcoin, right? So zooming in a little bit here. You could see this wick, right? We wicked off the support, right? And support would come down right in here somewhere. And then we had a reaction, right? And now we're pulling back. So is this a 1, 2, and we're about to get 3, 4, 5? Or is this just going to roll over and continue to go down, retest it as resistance before marching our way down? So we'll have to see what happens. But any way you look at it, I'm looking at this sort of like a corrective move, which means if it's corrective, chances are you have more upside to go, right? So if you draw a little channel here, there's our base channel. You bring it down like that. So this is a descending channel, and typically descending channels break to the upside, right? So you have this move to the upside. You have this corrective move to the downside, which looks like a bull flag, right? There's your flag. And then you want to break out. So let's see if we get that breakout. If not, then we're going to go to the same like Bitcoin. And then in which case, we're going to come all the way down here, right? And we're going to back test this area. So here's our zone. Here's our base. We break out of the base. We come up. We have a retracement, right? A, B, C. We back test as new support. So this was all resistance, resistance, resistance. You break out, you come down, you back test it, make it the new support, and then you go. So either way, on the bigger time frames, we're bullish. We just have to wait for this correction to end. And typically it ends in the back test area, right? But we could have one more wave to the upside. So this could be, like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we get 5 before coming down. And we can actually come all the way back down to back test, which would kind of suck, right? So maybe let's just get it over with and back test and continue. But like I said before, we don't have to come down. We don't have to do anything. Remember, this is not financial advice. I could be totally dead wrong on everything. So let's just see what happens. The main goal here is to break above this high, right? If we break above that zone, we're golden. And it looks like it wants to do it, right? You have this nice base, holding support, you break out, you pull back, you challenge it. Let's see if we can challenge it. So looking at theta, theta looks a little more difficult because it doesn't have that finished look. But so for example, I was looking at this like an A, and then we come up for B, and then we come down for C, right? So an A, B, C, and then we go. So that's kind of how I'm looking at theta right now. So looking at theta at the immediate short term, want to see a little pump here. So again, we have this big impulse to the upside, and now it's sort of correcting to the downside, right? Before ultimately breaking back up. The question is the correction over? Is that all we get, right? So we have this big move. We have this little correction. Is that all we get and we start going higher? It could be. It totally could be. Before having another bigger correction. So right now this is pretty small, right? That's a pretty small correction, which tells me we probably have a little more correcting to go, which is fine, right? No big deal. And zooming in here, so you have this nasty rejection wick. You come down A, B, C. That's kind of how I would look at it, like that. Maybe come down a little further and back test, right? And then in which case that would be what we showed earlier, which is, I gotta zoom out even more. Let's go to the 2-day chart. Take everything off. Get right there. Put a resistance here. Okay. So I always go back to the inverse head and shoulders. That's what I'm thinking is going to play here. So we have our shoulder, we have our head, we come up, almost met resistance, we pull back, we develop this right shoulder. So let's see if we get this pullback here. So this is the 2-day chart, remember. So zooming in, right? Zooming in, it could take a little while, right? It could take a little while. Probably not as big as I drew it. It's probably not going to be that big. But basically what we want to see here is if this is the entire wave, I'll take a Fibonacci tool here. Okay. And I want to see it come between the 382 and the 786. So somewhere in here. 702, I'm sorry. So anywhere in that zone, I know it's a big zone, but that's the deal, right? So we could come down a little further and then continue higher. I would like to see a pump actually, and then come down. So it would be a nice uniform A, B, C. We hit the 618, and then we go to the moon, right? And that would be a shoulder, right? That would be, it'd be a small one. It would be a small right shoulder, but that's okay, right? Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Zooming out. We still have our shoulder here. See, that's kind of what we want to see. And that would be bullish, right? That would be bullish because you would have this big impulse, this beautiful correction that gives you the opportunity to accumulate more, and then we can finally challenge this resistance area, because that's the main goal, right? The main goal with theta and all of them is to break above this resistance. You break above it, you come down, you back test it, and then you continue higher, right? So we're only on the first wave, right? Markets move in 5s and 3s. So I mean, obviously you could say that this is A, B, a C, like a flat, right? But I'm looking at it more like a 1, 2, and then we get 3, 4, and then all the way up for 5. So yeah, we just have to wait and see, take it day by day. Nothing's wrong. Everything's in a corrective motion. Going back to Bitcoin real quick, 10-minute chart. Let's see what's going on. See, look at that. We're getting a reaction off of this back test area. And that's what we want, right? That's what we want to see. You know, again, price comes down, you make a little bottom. You break out of that bottom, you challenge the resistance. You couldn't break the resistance because you didn't have enough energy and you didn't have any confirmation. So you come down and you back test and you get that confirmation. And now you have a spring, right? Not a Wyckoff spring, but like an analogy. You have this, it's like a slingshot, right? You push it forward, get it in, pull it back, and then you have to pull it back in order to slingshot, right? So let's see if we get it. If not, again, we come down, and when we zoom out and we look for other supports. But other than that, everything looks great. Let's see what happens. Thank you guys for listening. If you can, maybe leave a like, a comment, and I will catch you on the next one. If you have any coins or anything you want me to take a look at, drop them in the comment section, and I'll take a look at it, and we'll go from there. But until then, I'll see you in the next one.